It was late at night. I was driving along Olden Lane when all of a sudden the car jerked to the left. And me and my friends were wondering what was going on. And we got out of the car and found that there was a woman walking on the side of the road, and we almost hit her. And we told her and suggested her to walk on the opposite side of the street so that she could at least see oncoming traffic. But in my opinion, that's still way too dangerous. For her circumstances, she had no choice but to walk at this time of night, and she shouldn't have had to walk on the side of the road, and she shouldn't also have to walk in the ditch. There should at least be a place for her to walk home. And this isn't the first time that I've almost hit a pedestrian or a friend who's almost hit a pedestrian. In the past 2 months, there was this one on Olden Lane, there was one on North 10th, and on South 14th, which is the second busiest street in Abilene. Pedestrian danger and no sidewalks is a big issue in Abilene that not a lot of people think about. And the city has kind of talked about it, but it needs more attention. In a personal interview with Dr. Michaela, who was the mayor of Abilene for 9 years and is also an expert on community, says to improve the walkability of Abilene and improve Abilene as a whole, that the city should have sidewalks to show that it's a city designed with people in mind. And in spite of past and current efforts to improve this, more policies should be made to overcome barriers of creating and bettering sidewalks and to improve Abilene's health, safety, and quality of community. So in order to prove this, I must first discuss how significant this really is, because I know most of you are thinking, why should I focus on sidewalks? First of all, the lack of sidewalks is prevalent. Since 2006, we've kind of been talking about this. The city of Abilene wrote an ordinance called the City of Abilene Sidewalk Master Plan. And it says that all new sidewalks must be built in new streets and developments with the exception of single-family residential areas with 1 acre or larger lots. Sidewalks must be built on highways without frontage roads, in zones for current single-family residential areas, industrial areas, and agricultural preservation areas. The ordinance also allows for waivers to places where the cost may be too high to build sidewalks or where the topography may be too difficult to build one. So since this ordinance has been passed, 52 waivers have been presented to city staff. Out of these 52 waivers, 29 were approved. Out of the 21 denied, 9 were appealed, and out of those 9 appealed, 6 were approved. So this can be a major barrier to building more sidewalks. Mr. Mengalanzo from the Abilene Reporter News talks more in depth about barriers to building more sidewalks. The waiver issue in the ordinance is a problem. Some developers believe that building a sidewalk in a certain location is completely illogical. And there have been suggestions that if the developers don't want to pay or don't want to build a sidewalk, they can pay for 70% of the sidewalk cost and donate it to a sidewalk fund for the city to use. But developers don't really care enough to approach the city of Abilene to do anything about it, and so waivers are just being approved left and right. It's also very expensive to build sidewalks. Currently, the city of Abilene is spending $60 million to repair current neighborhood streets, $80 million to repair school facilities in AISD, and the water rates are extremely high. So why should Abilene build more sidewalks? There are also some attitudinal myths to building more. AARP released a sidewalk fact sheet and discussed some of these myths. The first one is that no one uses sidewalks. Well, the National Center for Safe Routes to School and the CDC found that a large number of people are walking, and most of these people are children and seniors. And that 55% of Americans wish to walk more and drive less. The second myth is that tax dollars are better spent elsewhere. Well, actually, sidewalks increase the property value of areas, and the maintenance on sidewalks are tax deductible because they add to a balanced transportation budget because they are safer for the overall community. If this isn't all, there are some major harmful effects to not having sidewalks in Abilene. The October 6, 2013 issue of the Abilene Reporter News talked about this in depth. Reporter Smith discussed the health problem. Americans should have at least 30 minutes of physical activity every single day to be healthy. So this could be a walk to the park, or a walk to the store, or a jog, or a lap around the block. But since there are no sidewalks in Abilene, there's not really a chance for people to do this and for people to be healthy. Christopher Collins discussed the safety issue. The disabled are a huge disadvantage. In 2010, resident and citizen John Buckley was killed on East Lake Road because his wheelchair couldn't move on the grass, and he had to be on a smooth surface, and there was no sidewalk on that road, so he had to be on the actual road, and he got hit. This is not the first time that a pedestrian has been harmed because of this. 5.8% of the Abilene households don't have transportation, and 8% of Abilene households walks or rides bikes to and from places. And if you want to talk about the city as a whole and not just the poor, economically, if a poor person does get hit, then they can't afford hospital bills, and they have to get federal aid, which is what the taxpayers are paying for. No sidewalks also affects the quality of life for the community. 54% of Abilene household income is spent on transportation. The Center for Neighborhood Technology says that affordable living is less than 45% of income is spent on transportation. Lance Robinson from the University of Calgary's Urban Lab says that there's a strong correlation between availability of sidewalks and how to build strong, cohesive communities. Clearly, all of these harmful effects points to a solution that must be made. Other cities have noticed this problem in their location and have done things about it. In Canada, Calgary suggests that each resident pay $50 to build a sidewalk. In Austin, Texas, since 2005, has built 100 miles of sidewalks. And how they did it was they documented where they needed to build them, prioritized them, and then just started building. The Abilene Optimist editorial board put some suggestions together for the Abilene community specifically, and said that the community and economic benefits of having sidewalks outweigh the monetary cost. Think about Lunsford on ACU. Many people go, drive, park their cars so they can be a part of that atmosphere and part of that community, because it's one of the very few places in Abilene that has an opportunity to use a sidewalk. So knowing about these things, I suggest that we have a solution for it. In spite of everything that has been done and everything that is being done, there must be something better done urgently and strategically. So I propose that the Abilene City Council writes a bill to build more sidewalks. And they should follow Austin's lead, where they prioritize where high car traffic areas and high pedestrian traffic areas coincide, and prioritize as such and start building. To overcome the cost issue, after seeking financial advice, if they see that there's no other way to overcome the cost except to increase taxes, then so be it, because the resident of Abilene should want to contribute to the quality of its entire city and the quality of its community. And lastly, no waivers in this bill. If this is done correctly and strategically, there should be no exceptions to be made. A bill enables action and solves the problem of having no action. More sidewalks equals better health, higher safety, and a closer community. Dr. McCaleb was as passionate as he was about this, and that's why he spent as much time as he did as mayor repairing and restoring downtown. And look at how successful and good it is now. Bills may take time to write, but once they are written, they can be easily implemented. Over time, people will see the handiness of sidewalks and begin to use them. There are some serious advantages for having sidewalks and having a bill to build more sidewalks. A bill also allows for amendments in case there's something missed, so you can always go back and amend the bill. And there's security for the city knowing that something is being done. The community can easily see that its tax dollars being spent to good use. The disabled, the cyclists, and pedestrians, and poor will be eternally grateful for providing accommodations. And sidewalks communicate that Abilene is a city that cares about its people, not cars. As you can see, sidewalks transforms the mood, the health, and safety for the city to be more livable. The bill must be taken seriously and with urgency. Abilene is growing immensely, and in order for it to be more livable, this bill must be written for its own sake and for its residents' sake. I encourage it to be written carefully in order to really improve the entire city. What is your ideal Abilene? Is it a place that you would call home? Because if you had the opportunity to improve it, would you? Because I know that I would. The better my city, the happier of a resident I am. Abilene is a city that cares after all. So how will you prove to your city